Hey everyone, welcome to this Patreon exclusive for Rachel Spangler and Kris Bryant's Patreon accounts. You're probably wondering why I'm here. I'm Tara Scott. You might know me because Kris and I are podcast partners on Queerly Recommended. You might have also seen my reviews hanging out around the Lesfic sphere. But the reason that I am here today is because Kris and Rachel are getting drunk and talking about their books. And when Kris told me that this was happening, I said, would you like a sober adult present to moderate this conversation? And to my personal delight, they both said yes. So, Rachel, do you want to just explain sort of where this concept came from?
Yeah, so we have hung out for many years at events and things, and at some point, somewhere, Drunk History, the TV show, if you've seen the TV show, Drunk History, came up, and we're both fans of that show on Comedy Central. And so one year in P-Town, we were just like, we should do that, but with Lesfic. We should get drunk and talk about great Lesfic books and see what comes out of our mouths. So when Kris got on Patreon, I've been on there for 6 months or so, and Kris, you've been on there a couple months now. She messaged me and said, "Hey, do you know what we have to do on Patreon now?" And I said, "An interview?" And she said, "Drunk Lesfic." And I was like, yes. I've been waiting for this for years. Let's go.
So Kris,
we are drinking Screwball peanut butter whiskey, sort of. Some of us have a little bit of whipped cream and Bailey's-ish, a knockoff Bailey's, but that is what we're drinking. And it turns out that I'm already sweating. So this will be... fans work. Let me tell you something. They are onto something because fans really work.
Mm-hmm. And so to set the stage for everybody for what to expect, you're both going to keep drinking as we're doing this. Kris is going to talk about Rachel's new release, Modern English, and Rachel is going to talk about Kris's most recent release, Scent. If you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't read this yet, we all highly recommend you stop this video now, go read it, and come back. They're getting drunk. We can't guarantee that there's going to be no spoilers. There's probably going to be lots.
There's definitely going to be spoilers.
Yes, for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. I'm not holding back on this one.
No.
So Kris dibs going first. Or Rachel had a chance to say anything.
That's great. Definitely the person who doesn't drink should wait the longest to go.
I planned this accordingly. Well, I started early because I was done with everything. And so I got dressed up. Hello, I'm dressed up. And I just said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and start. And I tell you what, this is heavy. Like this, what I'm wearing, like this is some heavy shit. It weighs like 30 pounds, not really, but it feels like it. And so it's weighing down on me. And so I believe I'm sweating a little bit. I'm perspiring, I'm glistening a little bit, I believe, and I apologize. So let's talk about Modern English, shall we?
I can't wait. I feel like you are about to learn me a few things about my own book.
Yes. Shall we drink some more?
Yes.
Cheers. Cheers.
So I'm super nervous because before we got on, I was supposed to take a shot, and I took my shot and I threw it. I only know how to drink how people drink in the movies. So I grabbed it and thought I was just going to toss it back. And then I had to go change my sweater because I just threw it all over myself. So just as you see me sipping gingerly out of the shot glass, it's because I don't want to wear this one.
Well, that's great though, so maybe it worked out.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to teach you how to drink, how to do shots. We won't tell Melissa or Georgia. We'll do it by ourselves.
Melissa and Georgia find me very amusing on champagne. They do not trust me on whiskey.
Well, I trust you on whiskey.
Is Susie on standby for later?
Susie and Jackson are upstairs watching Captain America Civil War because I said I would never watch that movie again because it makes me feel real sad and the heart feels. So they're upstairs watching that.
That's good.
I was watching Spider-Man
in the house to like roll me over if I like pass out.
Oh,
good.
Oh.
Good. All right.
Well, I'm in my bedroom, so I can just crawl right over to my bed. Like literally, I can crawl.
I can email your person.
Okay, that's good. That's a good call.
Kris needs to be rolled over. All right, Kris, do you want to start with the blurb for Moderator?
I am going to read the blurb. Are we ready?
Yes.
I don't have a cover. Do you have a cover of your book that you can show?
Bear with.
Nearby. Look at that. I believe I'm stretching a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I am, aren't I? That's awful.
Is that velvet? Like
what?
Your
what?
jacket, is the jacket velvet?
Yes, it's like 30 pounds of velour, and it's got the cast, and it's got the thing.
See, I've already got my leg up on the chair, and you all can see that I'm just wearing yoga pants under this dress shirt. It's terrible.
Oh, wait. I too am wearing.
Yeah. Also, plaid.
Yes. Okay. No one is wearing real pants.
Good. No, nobody's wearing real pants.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to read this. Modern English. There it is. Fantastic. When dreams and expectations clash in a fury of sparks, an actress and an aristocrat find themselves searching for common ground. Lady Victoria Penchant has had enough scandal for one lifetime, and she's sworn off drama for good. But when she makes an unexpected return to her family's castle during high tourist season, drama is exactly what she finds, in the form of a Hollywood film crew and their sharp-tongued, stunning star, Sophia LeBlanc. Sparks of every kind fly from their first encounter, and the drama doubles as every decision draws her closer to Sophia and further from the expectations of the prestigious position she has been raised to protect. Sophia has worked and scraped and fought her way up from nothing to the brink of stardom. She has spent her career taking direction from rich, pretty, privileged men, and she has had no intention of letting some rich, pretty, privileged aristocrat stand in the way. Now that her wildest dreams are within reach, she vows to stay in control of every situation during filming, but the lady of the manor proves to be an unexpectedly stubborn and alluring challenge to the goals she's fought so hard to achieve. As the summer heats up, Vic and Sophia learn they have far more in common than their intense sexual attraction. But will that be enough to overcome the pressures of proud histories and find their way toward a new vision of forever?
Well, was it? Was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to get my whipped cream again.
Yes.
I don't recall writing large portions of that blurb.
There you go. Well, I think it pretty much is spot on. I believe it's spot on. It's good. It's a good one.
Did you not write it, or were you having peanut butter whiskey when you did?
No, I definitely was not having peanut butter whiskey. What I imagine happened was I turned in a blurb that was a bit shite, and Salem West spruced it up for me.
Shite.
Yes. When we lived in England, my son thought that he could just use American cuss words and wouldn't get in trouble. And then when we moved back to America, he kept running around saying arse and shite and thinking that people wouldn't know he was cussing. And we're like, no, that's too close, buddy. You have to stop.
That's really sweet, though.
Oh, that's great.
Kris, what do you think of this book?
So honestly, I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I really did. For so many reasons. But let's start with the beginning. We're going to start with the beginning. So you're in the car with Vic at the very beginning. It's actually an SUV. Would this be considered a lorry?
No, this is like a Land Rover.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a Land Rover. So she's driving up to the castle, and you know the descriptions at the very beginning are very smooth and very, very descriptive. And you know exactly, you can picture it, you can see it, and you can see the castle up on the hill, and driving up to it, you see it as it becomes larger and larger. I mean, it's perfect, just the way Rachel describes it. It's absolutely perfect. And I lived in Europe. I grew up there. And so we had castles everywhere. And there's something about when you see a castle, there's something inside of you that like something in your soul is like historical, all the historical like opportunity and things that actually happened there. Okay.
So, Kris, what did you love about this book?
Well, let's start with the beginning. The beginning, I absolutely loved the beginning. I loved how descriptive it was. Just the words that Rachel used to describe Vic as she's driving her Land Rover up to see her castle. And it's true, you know how things off in the distance, how you drive forever and you see this castle and it's looming, and then it still takes forever to get there, but you still see it. And I appreciated it very much because I grew up over in Germany and we had a lot of castles, and there's a lot of history in castles. So when you see a castle, it does something inside. It's like there's so much history in all of these castles in the world. And you think about all the love and the hate and the wars and the peacetime and what a castle really does for a township. And so I loved it. I love the peaceful, like she finds peace as she's driving home. She's like, okay, I'm home. It's beautiful. I love everything that we've done for this town. We're a great family. This is awesome. And then she gets to the gates and she like opens the gates. She hits the clicker and the gates open up and there are people taking her shit out of the house. And she's like, what the fuck? Why are people taking my shit? So she runs in the house and she's like, it's hard here. What's going on? I don't understand. And so this big burly dude says, hey, check inside. This person's inside. So she goes inside and she's like, what's going on? And nobody can really answer her. So she sees her grandmother's sword. And so that's how she meets Sophia. And it's a very cool, very interesting beginning. And so my question is to Rach is, how did you come up with that? Like, what made you think to come up with a duel between the two love interests? The two MCs.
Yeah, like I have no idea. I don't even know. I just remember like when we lived in England, so this whole thing starts with the dates. Like the Americans formatted the dates.
Oh, yes. That was another thing I was going to point out.
Yeah.
That is so true. It is so true. The European dates are backwards from us.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it is in Canada. Are you like today would be 3- what did it say 6-2001? Or are you 6-3? What are you?
I think we're confused mostly. It's there are certain things where because we have some stuff that's American and some stuff that draws on American and some stuff that draws on British, there's some that we just have no idea. Like I don't know for dates. I also don't know whether it's 1 L or 2 L's when you're doing words like traveled or canceled. I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah. So you're kind of worthless in this. Okay, so in Europe, it's very much, it goes the date and then the month and then the year. And so that whole thing was very, very cool. And I appreciated that so much.
Yeah, so like in the whole time we lived in England, I was panicked about writing the date wrong. And then we moved back to America and then I couldn't remember which one was American. Like I knew that American was one and British was one, but so like I have a mild form of dyslexia and it mostly affects my numbers. So now I am just like in a cold sweat every time I have to format a date like that. I've just stopped. People are like, what's the expiration date on your card? And I never tell them the number. I always say the actual month because I'm like, I don't know.
October
Comes first.
21. Yeah. Yes, I agree.
So I knew that I needed this to be a big misunderstanding. And then it
totally worked.
So I started writing with that in mind, that she was going to get up there and the movie crew was going to have the wrong date. But it was only when I started writing that I thought about the sword. I was like, I like had her walk in and she was like looking around, and I took a lot of tours of castles to get ready for this. Particularly at one point I took a tour of Annick Castle, and then it was so interesting that I went back and took the same tour the next hour. Like I took the tour at 2:00 and then I took it again at 3, and they thought that I was like casing the joint, but I was like,
I'm going to steal the family jewels.
And like I kept asking all these questions. I was like, if you wanted to shoot a movie at this castle, what office would you call? And the guy was like, excuse me, miss, are you going to shoot a movie at a castle? So as I was doing this, I was reliving that tour in my head, and I was like, what was on the wall over here, and what would have been moved? And I was like, oh fuck, a sword. Sword would be great. She's looking for a sword, and then I didn't know at the time that it was her grandmother's sword. I went back and added that later to make that like a thing. Like I just knew that it was an important sword, like that someone shouldn't have fucking touched her sword. I've already said fuck twice. I've been drinking. So like that just all came naturally when I met Sophia. Like Sophia she did not reveal, for I'd say the first, up until the point where Vic shows up on the horse, Sophia kept me on a strictly need to know basis. Like she was like, I will tell you what you need to know when you need to know it.
Yeah. Sophia was very headstrong. She was very stubborn in a way.
Yeah. The first third of the book with Sophia, she did not reveal very much to me, so I had to go back and like put shit in.
Yeah, so Sophia LeBlanc is from Louisiana, and she has had humble beginnings, and she has literally clawed her way to this position. To get to where she is, she has done some kind of unscrupulous things, I'm going to say, maybe. And so she is now a Hollywood movie star. And so let me say, she does not apologize for anything. She doesn't like it when women apologize for anything at all. And so I'm trying to open this whiskey and it's not opening, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't open this.
You're sipping mine from my tiny baby glass.
So so out of both characters, I have to say Sophia is probably more like me. So I wish I was more like Sophia, because she is unapologetic. She is like in your face. She is very real. She speaks her mind, and she doesn't let people kind of put her down or make her feel bad about her decisions in life, and they haven't always been great. So I have a lot of respect for Sophia. And at first, when you first meet her, she comes across as kind of not unemotional, but she comes across as being not really unloving, but she kind of plays cat and mouse a little bit with Vic. So, she's kind of that kind of girl. And we all know those kind of girls. We all know them. We've been there, done that.
So did you have a favorite character between the two?
I liked them both for different reasons. I liked Sophia because she was stronger and she didn't take shit from anybody. She kind of knew when she could push people and when she couldn't. Like her director, oh my God, what an asshole. But we'll get to that later. But, she kind of knew how to massage a situation. Like, okay, this guy is a total dick, but I don't want to piss him off because he's really going to make or break my career, sort of, in a way, because this was his movie. And so I kind of like the way she handled it. She really massaged situations very well. Whereas Victoria was, from the get-go, she's very accommodating, very aware of what could ruin her and what couldn't ruin her. So I think she was very standoffish at first, and you don't really get to see her emotions. You just know that she loves her, not really loves, but she has a lot of respect for her position in life and her duties as a ladyship. I guess I can say ladyship. I'm not quite sure what to call that. We're going to call it ladyship for now.
Yeah,
so I think I probably like Sophia more because she was more outspoken and more American, and I'm used to that. I'm used to like, hey, don't say that, you can't do that. Whereas Vic really wasn't she wasn't in a position to really speak her mind freely.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't get this fucker open. Where is
You
the
call-
other one?
So you need to call an adult to open it for you.
Mom, this is the last one. Okay. Question. So, Rachel, who's your favorite out of the two?
It depends on the scene. Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was definitely going to be Vic.
Mhm.
I was scared to write Vic because she was so likable in. So she appears just as kind of a side character in full English, and you certainly don't need to read the first one.
Right.
But when people kept asking me for a book about her to get to see the story, I was
I
like,
did it.
yeah, not pointing at anybody here.
I definitely did it. Though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when people were asking, I was like, damn, I don't know if I can keep up somebody that perfect for a whole book. Like, she's like, I don't know how to be that flawless all the damn time. So like, I had written her as this really pie in the sky person, and I love her genuineness. Like, I love that she just so deeply wants to be good.
I think she is, though. It's not just a matter of want. I think she truly is a very good person.
Yeah, I think she's like a fundamentally stellar human being.
Right.
Who's been put in a really complicated situation.
Right.
But Sophia was so freaking liberating to write, because like, I got to vent all the stuff that I had to keep pinned in with Victoria. Like, Sophia, like you said, Sophia is so American. And like almost stereotypically American at times. And she's like, you don't like the decisions that I make? Go fuck yourself. I don't care. I will not curtsy to you. Sorry, not gonna happen.
Right.
You know, and so she was really freeing to write. She's like you said, she's the type of woman that so many of us want to be, but also she pays the price that so many women, I mean, I think worldwide, pay for having that sort of confidence and having that sort of understanding of how the game is played. And that's something that becomes, you know, a big deal later in the book, is that she knows that men are allowed to do things that women are not allowed to do. And she understands very deeply the unfairness of that, but she also understands that she's not going to revolutionize the system on her own. So her choice is to step out or to play the game as it's written, you know, and that becomes a big thing for her, is that, look, if I have to play this part to get what I want, then that's what I'll do, because I'm going to get what I want. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was a toss up on who I liked more. There were a couple times when I thought Sophia was kind of she pushed Vic's button because she knew how to, you know, and so she kind of knew like how to get to her under like all the armor that Vic has up. I think she knew how to like weasel her way in and get to her. And so I kind of didn't like that. There was a part of me that was like, you put a glass in my hand about 6:30 and said, start drinking. So I have been drinking now for an hour and some time. This is the fourth little one. And I have another little drink here too. So I've got this drink, and then I have water and my awesome. Cheers.
And you are going to have a nap.
I have
like the worst
water
night.
in my Ann Lister Yeti.
Nice.
Cute. I cut out on my side a little bit there for a little bit, so I don't think I missed a lot. But I'm just warning.
So Kris, with drinking. Yes.
Sorry, I think I honestly just missed a little bit of the drinking. But I'm just giving you a heads up because it might affect the recording, because I'm the one who hit record. So you mentioned that you wanted to talk more about an asshole boss.
Yes. So Brian was, okay, so here's the deal. So I truly thought, as I was reading this book, because you find out that Sophia really wants to be a director. Like, that has been her goal since she was a child. I'm going to go ahead and work my way up. I'm going to act in all these movies. And she's had some blockbuster movies. but her true goal in life is to direct. So I thought for sure, 100%, I thought she's going to step in, like when Brian stepped out, because he was such an asshole during this whole process of getting this movie down. I thought, okay, she's going to jump in. Okay, she's going to jump in. Like the whole time I was thinking she was going to jump in, and she never did. She never did. And he was such an asshole the whole time. So my question is, why didn't she jump in? Was it just too predictable if she jumped in, or what?
Yeah, because I knew everybody was expecting her to jump in.
Yes.
But also, like, I really needed her to break away from the entire system. Like, I didn't want her to become part of the system that perpetuated the shit that put her in the position she was in now. I wanted her and Vic both to say the system as it stands is irredeemable. We have, if we're going to continue with the dreams that we have right now, we need to revolutionize what these roles mean. We have to revolutionize what it means to be nobility in the modern world. And we need to revolutionize the way we go about making films, because Sophia has always had to play the man's game, right? And I wanted her to say, different game, right? Different game. We're going to do this differently. And that's why I didn't want her to just step in and do Brian's job better than him. I wanted her to start with her own film, her own crew, her own writers, her own cast, and say, I'm creating something different. I don't want to inherit a toxic environment and try to make it a little bit better. I want to do something that is fundamentally different in how I set this up.
So as an actress, she really tried to help this Brian director dude, try to help him do a better job, because she could see what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. I mean, she's like a kind of a top tier Hollywood star. You would think that Brian would be a little bit more accommodating, but he was like a jerk the whole movie. See, I think of it as a movie. See, you're welcome. So I think it was a movie, but I think that like the whole book, I just feel like that was going on. Like she could have made it so much better. And you know, she did help out. She did help out in that one scene where Brian was going in a way that was kind of too sexualized for her. It was just too much for everybody involved. You know, the whole, you know, Me Too movement and consent was very important. And speaking of which, like in your sex scene, the very first sex scene, you offered consent. And I absolutely love that. I love that so much because it's so important to offer that.
Yes, and you did too. I made the same note. I made the same note on your first sex scene that there's this moment. So we're both on the same wavelength. We're thinking about consent in very purposeful ways right now.
You know, and it's not like you can, I mean, there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. And you look back and Tara and I had this conversation not too long ago. I think in this last podcast, Recruitly Recommended, we had consent, whether it was, what are you eating? You're doing the whipped cream again, aren't you?
Eating the whipped cream now.
So how the Me Too movement has really changed how we write books. And it's interesting because books and movies, if you go back and watch them from like 20 years ago, they're completely different. They're written in a different way. Like, oh, she likes this, she wants this, it's okay. Whereas now we have to offer, like, we have to make sure it's okay with her and ask her beforehand. And I love that. I think that's so great. And, you know, why didn't we do this years ago? What the hell?
Well, I think part of why it's so important, and I actually feel the same way about safer sex practices, which male-female romances have been so much better at than Lesfic has. And I'm hoping it's going to, like, I'm seeing it show up a little more often, but there are so many people that learn about sex from reading romance. And I just think about all these like baby queer people who are picking up these books. And so when they get to read about enthusiastic consent, they learn that this is something that they can and should do and can and should expect as well.
Yeah.
So
and
it's okay to be
I would go even a step further and say can and should find hot, because there is nothing sexier than getting in bed with someone and having them be like, I really, really want to do this with you. That's the ultimate turn on, right?
Mhm.
Being wanted by the person that you're doing this with should be the thing that we all strive for. So
Mhm.
like, I think making consent sexy, making enthusiastic consent sexy is important.
Yeah, I agree. And you did a great job. You did a great job. The first sex scene. See, here's the deal. The difference between your sex scene and my sex scene is that you're very, you approach it very intellectually. You know, it's kind of, if I can even get away with saying that. Okay, so what I mean by that is there's conversation, and there's also the way that Rachel describes it. It's very for me it's animalistic, you know. It's kind of, oh, I like you, let's do this, you know. But for Ray, it's more of a hey, this is kind of what I want to do. This is what I noticed about you. I think it's beautiful, and let's go ahead, and I'm going to go down this path and see if it's okay. And if that's great, then let's keep doing this. So there was a lot of description during the whole process of lovemaking, and I thought that was beautiful. I thought it was so well written, you know. And I look at my stuff, and I'm like, Jesus, I'm horrible at this. I'm like, let's have sex. Let's do this. Woo!
Your fans disagree. Just for the record.
I can't wait till it's my turn. Because I have like multiple things highlighted from your sex scenes.
I feel like
I got a review this week that said it was the most intellectual lovemaking the person had ever read.
100%.
And I was like,
intellectual.
So I've been walking around my house all week, like after my kid goes to bed, not when he's in the room, but being like, sex genius.
For sure. I mean, it was so well written. It's so beautifully written, you know, and there's a way to write things that like we have such a different style. And so it was so nice to read yours, because, you know, it took 8 pages to write something that I would have said in like one sentence, you know, and it was so beautiful because you built it up.
I was actually like thinking the opposite about your sex scene. So like that damn, why do I have to take 8 freaking sentences to say what Kris can say in one? So.
Well, see, I think there's a difference between third person and first person too when you write things, you know, and that's one thing I try to explain. Within your head, it's completely different than what you say or what you do. Like in my head, I can go to my id. I can go to I want to fuck her. You know, that is what's in my head. But you can't really get away with that in books, you know, unless you're writing erotica. But in romance books, it's like, you know, I really want to bring her to the brisk of, you know, this amazing orgasm and stuff like that. So, but in your head, you're just like, I really want to fuck her because she's beautiful and she's wonderful. And I love her and I love everything about her. And I think that, I said probably too much. But I'm just so glad you've already just said that, because it's going to be so good when I read my notes. Like, this is going to be so good. So there's a true definition between first person and third person, because first person is in the person's head and third person is you're describing a whole scene, and it's beautiful, and it's just like, it's very powerful in its scene. Whereas first person is more of like what's in the author's head or what's in the character's head. So
I'm gonna read you the note that I actually made to myself right now.
Okay, I'm ready.
So one of the things that I've written is, how do you write in first person? Please teach me. But so yeah, I definitely got on the first person bandwagon. Like, she can do things with first person that I can definitely not get away with. But then I've written, your sex scenes are so good. I love that you don't shy away from like stating things as they are, like body parts and body fluids. And then I've written, does that sound weird? But I like that, like, I'm always trying to find like this socially acceptable euphemism for someone to say out loud, where you are, I mean, you stay in this really respectful place, but you're not gentle about it, you know? What I've written here is, I just think the first person narrative is so powerful in this situation. So like I just hit on everything you just said in my notes. Like that I think you get away with things in first person that like I'm definitely thinking but can't get away with. And I love that rawness that the first person brings to it. And that's why like a lot of authors, we're going to get a little wonky here right now. I totally, several points throughout this book was like, damn, I want to edit Kris so bad. I want to be your editor so bad. Sorry, Ashley Bartlett. I want to edit Kris so bad. Because you can do things in here that I don't get the chance to do. But a lot of authors write their sex scene from the point of view of the person who's receiving.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I will do that when it works, you know, when that's the way it works out. But more often than not, I think I write my sex scene from the person who's giving because I need to get as close to first person in that point of view as I can. And so like there's still a step removed, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to ease into like as deep a third person point of view as I can get, because God, making love to women is so awesome.
It is
like, but in first person you get so deep in a character.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing I love most is I love writing sex in first person because it's truly you're in the mind of the main character, and what's in your mind when you're having sex, what is in your mind is different than what comes out of your mouth and what comes out. It's totally different. I mean, I know it.
Did I just make a face that gave me away?
You did.
I'm like, oh shit, control your facial muscles. Damn it.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's time.
Can I interrupt you here? It feels like, Kris, you've probably said most of what you need to say because you've started talking about Kris's book. So just to bring everybody else along who's watching, Ray, can you read the blurb for Scent?
Yeah, I will try. I already told you I'm a little dyslexic, so like my greatest nightmare, although Kris, this book also triggered one of my other recurring nightmares that we can therapize about later.
Okay, I'm ready.
But reading other people's work is like a nightmare scenario.
I totally forgot to do it all in my British accent, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Nico Marshall's living her best life. Her packaging company's turning a profit, and she's just been labeled Chicago's most promising up-and-coming artist. The one thing missing is love. When she meets a beautiful woman on the train with an indescribable sweet and sugary scent, Nico's ready to make her move. Sophia Sweet doesn't have time for distractions. Never mind how fit and tan Nico is, or, oh, the meeting has been upgraded.
Do that too.
Thanks, Zoom.
Okay. Sophia Sweet doesn't have time for distractions. Never mind how fit and tan Nico is, or how she has the most beautiful eyes ever. Sophia only has one goal: keep the family business alive. Her third generation chocolatier shop, Sweet Stuff, is tanking. In a last-ditch effort, Sophia creates an upscale version of their product and needs the perfect package to ensure success. When Sophia recognizes Nico from the train but mistakes her for the packaging company's warehouse employee, Nico doesn't bother to correct her. She's been burned by women in the past, wanting her for her money. This time, she's determined to win Sophia over with her charm. And do you have a book handy to show a cover?
You know, I don't know. Oh, yes, I do. Yay, me.
Getting really drunk out. Yay.
Woo,
Did you do that? Did you design that cover?
Yes. Well, actually, Deb did. She designs most of my book covers, almost all of them since the second one. So, yeah.
Yes. I admire that. I have Anne McMahon doing her thing, so I don't really have, to test myself in that level. But
Anne McMahon is the shit. So I'm
no doubt about it. But
you're good on that.
So amazed that you do that stuff. You take that into consultation and That's impressive to be like the literary artist, but also have a mind for that stuff too. That's cool.
Thank you.
So the first thing that I noticed as soon as I started this book was that we both wrote Sophia's.
Yes. Yay for Sophia!
Yay, Sophia. I think Sophia is a very sexy name. So really I'm glad that you agreed. But also, you named her Sweet, and she has a sweet shop, and I think that that is adorable. And I love it.
It's so a little campy, but it's adorable.
But do you want to hear a funny story? Because now
yes,
I can hear how drunk I sound, but I can't stop it.
You and me both. I've done the 4 bottles, and now I'm up to my little.
Okay, but when I learned about Sophia Sweet, I was thinking my mother-in-law's name is Rosie Bloom, and she is a florist.
There you go. No, for real?
There you go. Yeah, Rosie Bloom is a florist. So that's what I was like. It's not unreasonable that Sophia Sweet would be
the loveliest thing. So, I want her book now.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Okay.
But also I love the name Nico. Like if we had another kid, Nico would totally be on the list. And Jackson actually loves the name Nico too. One of his favorite literary characters is named Nico from the Rick Riordan books. So I'm all in on both of your names. I loved them.
Nice. Thank you. And especially when you're a butch trying to be Nicole. You know, it's a little hard.
Yes. And so I wrote a Nick for that reason. So like we were on the same wavelength there. What can you do?
Good.
Also, I've decided that you could call a Nicole Cole.
Yeah, that's good too. I didn't even think about that.
I like the name Nicole is very versatile, which I'm very big on.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with Nico immediately because she leaves a meeting to go look at a girl on a train.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how can you not love that? That she's like, I have this really successful job, but I'm going to go just look at a girl on a train. Like, I'm not going to mac on her. I'm not going to try and get her into bed. Like, I'm not trying to score right now. I'm a genuine enough person that I just want to sit close to this woman for a while. And like, heart. Because that is just so wonderful. Like, I just want to be by her. I just want to be in this train car with her. Also, this thing that you do where she like checks to make sure the line of her buttons lines up with her belt buckle. So that is called a gig line. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to learn you some things.
Gig line. All right.
That is called a gig line. I learned about that in ROTC because I showed up for my ROTC class like looking like a hot mess. And like some female ROTC people were like, no kid, you can't go in there looking like that. That's horrible. You have to get your gig line in order. So like the fact that Nico is like concerned about her gig line just to sit by this girl on the train, like, you know, this is a good person. Like you have just done like little things to prove to us immediately that this is a good person. Also, her sister is awesome. Like,
her sister
like
is
Trish,
awesome. For sure.
like, I love the dynamic of adult siblings.
Yeah.
Just freaking love adult siblings. My brother and I, like, we love each other very, very much, but we're not close. So, like, I just love this dynamic of, like, the sister who will totally take care of you and bust your ass at the exact same time. Not like sometimes take care of you, sometimes bust your ass, but, like, do both simultaneously.
Right.
And I love that dynamic.
Yeah, and that is they have a very strong core group. Like their family dynamic is very strong. And I feel like my sister and I, we're very close too, you know, and I feel like I can really capture the whole closeness between siblings and from the whole family unit as a whole, because it's just the 4 of us. We're just a nuclear family. And I think, you know, and most people know about, you know, how much I love my family and how involved I am in their lives. And so Trish was kind of like my sister's name is Patricia. So she's Patty, but this one is Trisha. So she's Trisha in the story, but very close. And my sister and I have the same dynamic where like they're in a car and she like reaches over and does something and she's like, I'm seeing the wrinkles. He's like, shut up, you know. So it's like there's this whole fun thing, and that's really my sister and I. We really get along like that.
Yeah, and like I know I've watched you through this pandemic, you know, just not on an author note, but as on a friend note, like how hard it has been for you to be separated from your parents through all of this. And I was like reading these scenes in the books where, you know, for Nico it's her parents, and for Sophia it's her grandma.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if you wrote this before the pandemic, but like I was seeing this through this mindset of like, oh my God, like being separated from these people who are so central to this story. And I was just really seeing your relationship with your family, like coming through these characters. And her dad, who plays such a small role, you know, compared
to my dad
and grandma, except for like up until the last minute where he's totally the guy who drops the bomb.
Right. That's
like
my dad.
I like highlighted this scene at the parents' party, where the dad just walks into the room and he's like, my children, like you may hug me now. And she's like, Dad, don't be weird. You know, and like then he's totally the guy who sits on the edge of things, but then is like, oh, I'm just going to walk over and meet the girlfriend myself. You know, I'm just going to get up from my table and go talk to the girlfriend. And I just loved that he's that guy. And you didn't feel the need to build that up or beat us over the head with that. He's just like, yeah, I'm going to go talk about my kid.
I'm going to brag about my daughter.
Yeah.
Because you're here with her on a date. And so we're going to talk about something we think we have in common, but we really don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally my dad. My dad is very, my dad's kind of a what did I do type person. So my dad. And so I could see my dad actually like making that faux pas in real life. He would totally do that without even realizing it.
Yeah. So I also wanted to talk about, like, I love your economy of words. Like you said, you were like, you just wrote one sentence and I wrote 8. But like, I love that you have this economy of like, so one of the things that I highlighted for that was when Trish says, look, my straight friends want to fuck you. And I'm like, and so we know exactly how hot Nico is. Like you just she said this one thing, and then you describe her as, Trish describes her as barely butch. And then the receptionist flirts with her, like all within that same chapter. And it's just like, bam, little thing, little thing, little thing. And then like it's cemented in us for the rest of the book that Nico is hot. Like you didn't describe her in intense detail. You didn't tell us about the freckles she has 3 inches from her nose on her right cheek. Like we just, like we get that picture in these little things. Like you're like, I feel like you're much more secure than me.
No, I think that's just first person. It makes you go straight to the source, talk about it, and move on. I mean, there's really not a lot of, you can't really write a lot of flowery stuff in first person, I don't think. I think first person is kind of the id in you, and it's just kind of like, I like her, she's pretty, I like her brain, she's smart, I really want to be with her, let's have sex type thing. And that's kind of how first person works. You know, it's totally different than third person, because I've written 2 third person books, and I had like, not even joking, like a Lucky had like 12,000 more words than what I normally write. Like for sure, you can write so much more in third person than you can in first. And I feel like, you know, the first person is more, you know, obviously it's more internal, and you're talking about things that you would never, that are in your mind that you would never actually say during a scene, or during, you would never tell this person that she looks a certain way or that you want to fuck her a certain way. It's just, it's not there. It's something it's hard to convey that on the page without being crude or cross the line. And so it's a little difficult in first person. It really is.
Well, since we're talking about first person again, I'm going to jump ahead to my next like question on that subject, which is, you also wrote this in past tense, and sometimes you write in present tense. Sometimes you write first person present. This one you wrote in first person past. What made that decision for you?
Pretty much my editor. She said, quit writing present tense because nobody likes it. All right, Captain Lashley, let's do this. So we're going to write in past tense. But let me tell you something. I literally just finished Not Guilty, which is the second side, which is the other side of Shameless, which is first person present. And it was a novella. And it actually, I think it was received very well. And so I just went ahead and decided to write the whole story from the other person's point of view, pre, post, and during and after Shameless. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked present tense because it brings a whole different element to the writing style.
Yeah. It seems
really
exhausting. Is it exhausting?
It is 100% exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, without a doubt. It's a whole different writing style. And to get 70,000 words and first person present, it's really hard. You know, most people are like, oh, this book was so short. I can't believe I paid $9.99 for this book. But they don't realize like what that really means. Like, sure, I can give you 90,000 words if you want third person, you know, past tense. But, you know, it's easy to do that. And I say easy because you have a license to write so beautifully and write so descriptively. Whereas in first person, either present or for sure present tense, but past tense, you don't have the luxury of that. You have to literally write what's in the mind of the character. And let me tell you something, when I'm driving through like the sunflowers of Kansas, I'm not thinking about the sunflowers of Kansas. I'm thinking about, you know, like, hey, let's have sex in the sunflowers of Kansas, you know. It goes somewhere else. It has nothing to do with the flowers. It has nothing to do with the environment. It has to do with me and this person I'm with or the characters with and how I can get closer to this person. And that's what first person is. And it's so different than third person. And I wish I could get people to understand that, but they really, you know, and it's interesting how many people say, I never read first person. Like a lot of my reviews are, I don't like first person, but I read this book and blah, blah, blah. You know, so my goal is to change everybody's viewpoint of first person.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, you're doing it. You're doing it with me in my head anyway. I read Taste a couple months ago. I was doing the slush pile for Bywater for many years. And so I never got to read anything. And that was one of the things that, like, when I let go, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like 6 months ago, that's one of the things I was like, I'm going to go back and read a bunch of these books that I missed over the last 3 years. And one of the first ones I picked up was Taste. And I said something to my wife about like it being written in first person. Like this feels, you know, it's really refreshing, I guess. I don't remember exactly what I said. And she was like, well, it's not present tense, is it? And I was like, no, no. And then I started reading it again and I was like, holy shit, it is.
Yeah,
it is. But like, I think of that as being a really pretentious sort of format, but I think it's just because it's like the ones I've read in the past have been really pretentious. And I didn't recognize it as that thing because it didn't fit my stereotype of that thing. It was only after she asked that I was like, oh my God, this is first person present tense. But like, it's not pretentious at all. It's amazing. I love this story and I love these characters. They feel really real and grounded to me. So I think that's a tremendous compliment to you. I didn't even recognize it as this thing that I had stereotyped in my head. So like you broke it. I had a stereotype.
Thank you. Yay me. Woo.
Yes.
Yeah, I had no idea. Like Ashley always jokes with me. She's like, you know, when you first turned in Jolt, you turned in third person, first person. It was all over the place. When I first turned it in, like it went through 8 people. And 8 people decided whether or not they wanted to accept this book or not. And so when they finally accepted it and they gave me back the feedback, I had like 5 pages of notes. And the very last paragraph was Ashley, because I had 2 editors on Jolt. And the very last paragraph said, you know, maybe you should think about writing this in first person. So I'm like, okay. So I did. And so I wrote it in present tense. And she's like, stop writing in present tense. You should write past tense. It's a lot easier and people are used to it. so I did, and then I started writing, third person past tense, and then when I was writing Shameless, I changed it 3 times because I went into third person, and then I was like, oh no, it's first person. So I wrote first person past tense, and then I was like, shit. So I had to read Shameless over so I could write the story again, and it was first person present, and so Jesus, I tell you, it's rough.
But when it works so well for the immediacy that it brings. The thing that I find, like, as a reader and as a critic, like, I used to be a no first person, and then I started getting into more YA in the last year or so. And you can't read YA without reading first person. And then it's actually, I've been seeing it in other genres too. Kris, do you remember on the podcast when I talked about the book Outlawed by Anna North, that Western that I was reading? That's in the first person as well, which is one of those I didn't expect that I would get into, like a Western.
In first person. I love that we've gotten so wonky here. Like, I can't even keep my eyes open. Like, I literally cannot hold my eyes open right now. And I'm like, yes, let's keep talking about point of view.
Okay, I'm supposed to be guiding you back on track, but I was enjoying the conversation. Okay. We asked on your book, and I'm personally curious to ask both of you, and I'll start with you because you're the one who's talking about how much you love Scent. Did you have a favorite between the 2 leads?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's NICO because she's the one that you merge with. Like, I'm constantly talking to the authors that I editor.
Woo! Very good.
Yeah. So when I editor my young authors, I am constantly talking to them about the power of the point of view character. Like, I work with really talented authors, so I don't get point of view slips. Like, a lot of editors talk about, well, you can't possibly know that because you're not in her point of view. My people are too professional for that. They don't make point of view slips, but I'm constantly talking to them about the power of a point of view, and that you almost shouldn't have to say your point of view character's name. Like, if we're in Vic's point of view, then only the other characters should really have to constantly be telling us Vic, because the reader is them. The reader is NICO. You don't have to say NICO saw a bird fly overhead. You just say a bird flew overhead because you can't see it unless NICO saw it. You are NICO. So I felt like I came through this book as NICO. I am NICO when I read this. And so I think it's impossible not to identify with that because, Kris, you obviously did that first person very well.
Thank you.
Like, there's no, for me particularly, as someone who really immerses in a book, a well-written book, I am NICO. It just becomes this fluid situation, and I do think that if you're working a deep third point of view, you do that. You get to become both of them at different times, and then you have to decide which scenes you want to see from which point of view. And at that point, you might call it like the impact character. You have to pick your impact character for different scenes. But yeah, I felt like I was NICO, and that so going through my notes, I won't say all of them because I do seriously have 4 pages of notes here. But like, I loved that. Like, I totally defended NICO. Like, NICO lies for part of this book. I mean, like, NICO lies for all of this book, but I didn't see her as lying at first. Like, I didn't see it. Like, it's really the middle of the book before I saw NICO as lying, because I was so identified with NICO that I was like, look, we can't get hurt again. We have been hurt. NICO and I have been divorced before. So like we can't trust you. And so I really was so into this point that like I kind of, because Kris, you said something in like response to a review about like, you were like, yeah, NICO, why don't you just tell the truth? And I was like, fuck you, Kris, NICO's been hurt, okay? You know,
She
so
can't tell
like,
the truth.
so like, I'm trying to find this point in my notes where, oh, I just found the part about the Hobbit bar. I really, really, really loved the Hobbit bar. Like, I loved this so much, and I needed to know. So, like, earlier in my notes, I went to high school and college and graduate school in Illinois. So I know Chicago really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, is there really a Hobbit bar? Have you been to the Hobbit bar, Kris?
No, it's make believe. I got to make it up. That's the beautiful thing about being a writer.
You make up a Hobbit bar? What kind of sick, twisted mind do you have?
You know, I know zero about Lord of the Rings. I don't know anything about it. I actually asked Finney and Burnett about Lord of the Rings because I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about this. I need some help. Like, what is going on here? So Finney actually told me some things that helped me write this book.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I thought that I was sure that you were like a closet Tolkien fan, and that I was so excited to tell you that I had been to his grave. I had been to Tolkien's grave. And
wow.
I was so excited about this. He's buried in Oxford. And like one day Susie was had a class in Oxford, and Jackson and I had like 7 hours to kill. So, you know, I Googled like what to do with kids in Oxford. And of course, like the people in Oxford are such like literary snobs that they're like, take your child to the cemetery.
I know nothing about this.
So I did. I like made Jackson get on the bus out of town, and like I took him to the cemetery. But we read The Hobbit together, so I've read The Hobbit at least.
I haven't even read that.
But
I just feel like
I've been all over Chicago. Where's the Hobbit bar?
There, I like to make shit up. I really do, and I thought that was kind of a good thing. I think that Lord of the Rings has roots, and I think that there are a lot of fans. You know, it's kind of like in 20 years, Game of Thrones will be the thing, you know, and I feel like I just felt like that was kind of a thing. And why not? Because her neighbor just kind of came out and said, you know, here, let's go ahead. I'm going to read this to you. And, you know, he played a very important role in her growing up. And Sophia's, you know, as far as like becoming an adult, he really played a part in helping her like focus on something other than being a teenager and being without, you know, parents and like all that stuff.
Yeah, and I have not done the full Lord of the Rings trilogy. I've just done the Hobbit. But I think you're right. I think there are these books that get passed down from generations, and they still work. And I think you're absolutely right. I'm looking like the page is swimming a little bit right now.
I will say that.
Are there any last points you want to make?
No, like I was definitely looking because there was a point where I was like, okay, Nico, like you need to tell her. Yes, right here. Okay, so like when they go back to the studio, and this is like halfway through the book, right? They go back to the studio and she's like, don't be embarrassed to tell me where you live. I'm not that kind of person. That was like the first moment that I was like, you should probably tell her now, okay? Yeah. You should, like, she just told you point blank, she's not that person. But up until that point, like, I was totally with Nico on this because, and what that made me realize is that we both wrote books about social class.
Right. You're like, correct.
We had written wildly different books in different countries, different settings, really, really fundamentally different characters, a whole different conflict. And yet we're still wrestling, both of us in these books, with social class.
Right.
And both dealing with a rich character who just wants to be loved for who they are.
Right, exactly. And I think Vic did a really good job of, you know, up front, she was very, very vocal, very, you know, this is who I am, this is my job, this is what I strive for. You can't get involved in this because this is my duty as a royalty person. Whereas Nico was kind of like, you know, Nico was selfish. She was like, you know what? I really love this person. This person really loves me for just being me. And we're having a moment and I don't want to ruin that. So I feel like we're just going to like ride this night out. You know, she was being 100% selfish. And I think, that was kind of a turning point for her too. And she knew it. She knew as soon as it happened. She knew the next morning that it was the wrong thing to do. But I mean, think about it. How many times in your life, especially in your early life, have you made decisions that were just wrong? And you're just like, shit, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have made this whole, I have a lot of regrets from my earlier youth. And I just feel like we all have, and it's hard to see the faults in a book, whereas in real life that shit happens. It just happens. So, and no, not making excuses for Nico because she did the wrong thing, but at the same time, how many of us would really like come out and say, oh my God, you're right, I'm this rich person, but really you really want to show this person how much you love them, and you want to have a moment with them and show them, and maybe they would understand later. So she was a jerk, but at the same time she did it for love. It sounds weird, but it's true.
And I love so much that you just said that, because I feel like you, like, maybe I sent you my notes accidentally beforehand. Because but isn't that so like what you hope for as an author, that the thing that you meant to put in the book actually gets received, because that doesn't always happen. I wrote a book once where I was talking to my editor, Linda Sandoval, about it, and she was like, that is a great character, you should have put that in the actual book. And I was like, oh,
I did.
But like you did, because so what I wrote here, I will read my exact notes. I love that at no point did Nico try to justify what she did. Like, she gave her reasons when Sophia asked, but she didn't try to convince her that what she did was right or to pity her for what she had been through. Like, Nico makes a mistake and she owns up for it. She's like, there are reasons that I made this choice, and they are not excuses for the behavior. And I just love, like, that is so mature. Like, for someone who has made like some kind of immature choices throughout this book, she shows that she is fundamentally mature in understanding what she did was wrong. And I love that she doesn't try and make Sophia agree with what she did. She's straight up like, no, I messed up here.
Yeah.
And me, like, I am so much more willing to forgive a character who is like, I made a mistake. I shouldn't, I've grown and I won't do it again, but I'm not perfect. And this thing that I did was wrong. Like, I'm just like, I love characters that are human enough to make mistakes and then mature enough to admit that they were in fact a mistake.
She's young. I mean, she's like in her early 30s, and it's not like, we all have made decisions and have made the wrong choices. And it's great because, readers think, oh my gosh, these people should be perfect on the page. And when I first started writing, I wrote perfect people, but people are flawed, and they really are. And it's just realize and deal with it. That's the way people are.
Yes.
It's like, it's so many things happen, and people are so judgmental about it. Like we're going to do a podcast tomorrow about people who, like in this movie that I wrote, they have affairs. And you know what? That should happen. It's real life. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. And so I feel like, she didn't have an affair or anything. It was strictly like she just wanted to get to know this person and have her love her for herself. And she didn't realize what she was doing by not revealing who she really was detrimental to the relationship. I mean, she kind of knew, but she didn't really know, and then at the point she was too far gone and she couldn't fess up. Yeah. And I get it 100%. I 100% am behind Nico. I support her. I understand where she's coming from. I would be pissed if I was Sophia, but at the same time, I would also forgive her.
And that makes for good books in my mind. You and I are on the same page for this. Like, my head is really, like, my vision is behind my head, if that makes sense.
I feel like we're getting close to a good wrapping up point.
Yeah. I just want to say that, like, I agree so much. And, like, so in the book Love All, I wrote a teenager who behaves like a total shit teenager.
Of course.
And people like still message me and say, well, I loved the main characters, but I thought that Destiny was behaving like a shit throughout most of this book. And I'm like, no, she totally is. He totally is, because you gave a 17-year-old $1 million and a microphone. What the hell did you think was going to happen?
Yes.
You know, but that's the point, is that like, I don't want to write perfect people. That's
We
boring.
are perfect.
Boring people are boring people are perfect. Perfect people are boring.
Right.
Because then you have no room for growth. Like, the whole point for me of a romance is the transformative power of love. I need to see how love changes a person.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're perfect from the beginning, there's no power, right? There's no power, because you don't need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, the point of the romance is the growth. You have to start from a point where you can grow, where you need to grow. Love is supposed to push you to be better. And I just wanted to take a second to read a couple quotes, because I did highlight throughout this book. I won't read all of them. I won't read all of them because I have like 27. I'll just send you my notes later, Kris. But I wanted to commend you on just a couple of these. The first one is when they're having the date at Sophia's house, and it's right before the first kiss. And she says, she's talking about Sophia. She sat on the opposite side of the couch and crossed her legs. Of course I looked. Everything about her screamed at me, from her curled hair to the peep-toe heels with the pedicure toes. Like, yes, we look. Ladies, when you cross your legs in the skirt, we look respectfully.
Right.
Respectfully, because you deserve to be looked at. And I thought that was such a nice thing, because on a little bit, like on the first impulse, it seems a little dirtbaggy. Like, she crosses her legs and he goes like, yeah, I looked. But then you follow that up with the next line that makes it not dirtbaggy. Like, how could I not look at perfection? You know, you are perfect, and so I have to look at you like a work of art. And so I loved that twist of like, yes, I'm being a dirtbag, but it's only because you are perfection.
Thank you.
And then
I would totally look too. 100%. I would look. I mean, it's natural, you know. I mean, I think if you, I think in a way Sophia wanted her to look, obviously, you know. So the way she like sat back and she crossed her legs, so, you want somebody to look. You want that attention. Yeah,
and that does.
And that's okay.
Yes, exactly. That's okay. That doesn't make you a piece of meat or an object. It makes you, you know, a human work of art. The other one is a little bit longer. I wrote long quote alert. So when Sophia says she doesn't have time to devote to a relationship right now, and Nico says, I understand that. Would I even be someone that you date? And then she looks down and played with the fabric on the couch. I waited patiently because everything I had done to get to this point hinged on her answer. Sophia was worth the wait. She looked at me, her eyes narrowed, and 100 butterflies spread their wings in my stomach. It was a look of hunger, and I was falling. I gripped the armrest and waited for her words. Why else would I be here? Dead. That is so perfect. Why else would I be here? And then like that's the moment that I was like, oh, Sophia totally knows what she's doing. Like, Sophia, like, up until that point, Nico had been leading this charge, and then with just that little, why else would I be here? Sophia, like, owns the romance, right? She owns it, and I am mush. And then I'm just a total I'm just a puddle in my chair reading this book. And then, well, I had one more. Oh,
okay, because then I have a few too, because I feel this is really important.
This is the one that I am now just barely drunk enough to read.
It's sexy.
Because I wrote that this is a community service. You have done a community service, Kris. And she says, I moved my fingers faster and harder until she came again. The second orgasm was always her favorite. Like, this is lesbian community service here, because like the second orgasm is definitely the best orgasm. Mm-hmm. And like, I think that, I don't know. I don't know. I know a lot of really enlightened guys out there, but I know a lot of really unenlightened guys who think that because they're done, their partners are also done.
No.
And I just feel like that has filtered into lesbian romance to a certain extent. Like the one and done, the one in the rollover, as I like to think of it. Like, and I just loved that, again, the thing that you can say in the first person's head, that like, right. I was like, yes, the second orgasm is the best orgasm. And Kris Bryant is the first person I know who ever told the truth about that.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, words. I love it. No, yes. It's 100% true. And that's why I love writing in first person so much, is because you can be honest. You can be honest about your words. You can be honest about sex scenes. Everything is truth. And that's why I probably write in first person, is because I love that I can go there. And, you know, I mean, there are certain words that you should use and certain words you shouldn't use. And I've learned that over the years of writing, you know, first person. And I get that. And there's a time to be romantic and there's a time to be raw. And, you know, I'm working through that balance between the two. And yeah, thank you. I like that. I think it's true. I think a lot of people think that the first is done and you're done with it and that's it. You can roll over. No, you are not done. There's more to be done. You have a lot more to go. You are not done with things. Yes. You go until she says you can't go anymore, yes. And then you're done.
But like, right. the second one is definitely the best, because the first one you're in a hurry. The first one you're right. in a hurry. Let's be honest.
Right.
Everybody's in a hurry.
You want to make sure you can get it, and you're like, yes, I did it. And then you're like, okay, calm down. We can do this. The second
one is pure, like that's the gold zone there.
Right.
The third one, you're like, okay, like that's enough.
We're done. I'm tired. My arm hurts. My face hurts. Whatever is going on, it hurts. And we need to stop for a little bit. But yes.
So like right now, I am in that point where like I'm drunk enough to say that, like to keep talking, but like not quite drunk enough that I realize that I'm going to regret that statement later.
No regrets in this. None. No regrets in this.
Still aware enough to realize that when I wake up and tomorrow, I'm going to be like, oh, I talked about the second and third orgasm on a recording.
Okay, it's all good. We all have orgasms. We all know about the second orgasm. We all know that exists. We know that's a thing. So I think it's good. I feel like
there's a lot of people who don't know about the second orgasm. I feel like
you are doing a community. That means you, by bringing it up, are also doing a community service.
Yes, you are.
One of my straight friends was talking about something once, and she was like, "Yeah, I hate it when he has an orgasm and I don't." And I was like,
what? Hold on. Wait a minute.
Wait a second. Nobody comes up for air until both of us had an orgasm, okay? Like,
but even if that's the case, why not kick him out and take care of it yourself?
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
We can also be our own superheroes when we need to.
No, I don't really know.
Superheroes in love.
She was like, don't you hate that? And I was like, I'm sorry, that has literally never happened.
Right. It is not over. Just because you're done doesn't make it over.
Okay, talk about something else.
Okay, so here's your quote. I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I wrote 9 quotes down that I really enjoyed from the story. And I'm going to start with something that's it's short and it's sweet and it's 100% to the point. And this is beautiful. I absolutely love this quote. Here we go. Victoria made a happy noise. I'm used to having people's eyes on me. Only yours have ever made me feel seen.
Yeah, I almost put that on a postcard.
It is 100% worth putting out a postcard. That's the stuff that would make me drop my panties. 100%. I'm in. Let's do this. Those are the words that I live for. 100%. But here's the thing. I agree with what you said earlier about how there was a reader that wrote about how the intellectual whole entire love scene works, you know, for in this book, and I 100% agree with it. And so, but it was so much more than just love. There was so much going on between everything, between the classes, between the differentiate between these classes, between them as people, as women. And I thought it was fantastic. So I wrote, I didn't close anything. Okay, so I actually highlighted some things, and so I have to use this little flashlight.
I was like,
Okay, why do you have a flashlight? Because I'm drunk and I can't read straight. So if I have a light on it, I can shine it better and I can read it better. So here's what I'm going to read. This is really great. Her mouth closed on Vic and everything went silent. Like that right there. Not just the voices in the room, but also the one inside Vic's head. The whispers of insecurity, the echoes of shouts, even the subtle hum of trauma fell into a blissful silence. For once, there was no inner monologue. There was nothing but Cecilia. I mean, fuck, really? Like that right there. Like words like that makes me think, what the fuck am I writing? Why am I even bothering? You know, this is like flowery, beautiful love and sex. And I'm writing like, does she love me? Yes. Does she want me to fuck her? Yes. No. I mean, I'm writing the notes that you passed out in 8th grade. You know, you are writing stuff that is like award worthy. You know, it's phenomenal. I seriously have wrote several things down, you know, and it's like, it's just amazing. Everything I have, I don't even know like where to stop and where to end.
We should just send each other our notes. I feel like every book, you and I should just like write each other love letters about the books.
I know, we should. Like, we will feel so much better about it when we're done.
Yeah. Have you seen? Oh, go ahead.
Say this one. I have to share this one with everybody. Okay. Vic hooked her finger under Sophia's chin, gently urging it up until their eyes met. This morning you said you'd never be the one to pull me down, but now I'm asking for more. I am here asking you to go a step further and to be the one who lifts me up, who holds me accountable, who makes me better. And I'm asking you to let me be the person who does the things for you. Oh my God. That's like, I need that person. When did I have that person? So I get why it's so successful. Truly, it's beautifully written. 100%. I have nothing bad to say about this book. There's nothing I said that it's like, you know, I probably do this something differently, but this is a beautifully written book, and I love your words, and I love everything you did for this, and for the just being in love and the feeling of love.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Have you seen the movie Booksmart?
Yes, I have.
You know that scene where they see each other for the first time in the morning and they just like pile on compliments to each other and they're like, you look amazing. And they're like, no, you look amazing. And I feel like Kris and I are just going to, every time we put out a book,
right,
you like just tell each other like, no, you're fucking fabulous. You do everything right, Kris, and I love it. You should just keep doing everything you're doing.
Oh, and it's so interesting because we're so different on how we write, but we all write the same thing. You know, we want the true romance and just the true feelings, and I think we both nail it.
Yeah, I love this. I love it. I'm just like, I wrote down so many quotes, and I just want to read them all.
I know.
But we will mail them to each other because
for sure.
Like at one point I was like, wait, I'm team Nico. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm team Trish. I'm always team Trish, okay? Like everything about this is perfect. So
that's true.
Like, Sarah, you should probably cut us off now because we are
I'm trying to it's like, where can I do it without being a dick about it? But yes, let's
like, we're just gonna start making out with our computers here any minute.
We are.
I'm gonna end the Zoom call if you do that. On that note, let's wrap this up. You're both very drunk. but very much love each other, and I am here for it.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
For all
I
the
love
people,
you, Kris. And
I love you too.
Tara. I love you both so much. And Tara,
I love you both too.
like, thank you so much for everything you do for our community. Like,
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
good.
Tara deserves it.
this is fantastic. I love, like, here's the thing, because I'm drunk enough to talk about this now. I never
dear.
know how to relate to reviewers, because I understand that you have to work in this autonomous space. And I understand that, like, you don't need authors pressuring you for reviews, and you don't need authors like giving you crap about reviews, certainly. But I also always want to say, like, a really genuine thank you, because
Right.
it's so important. We have this amazing field of lesbian fiction now that didn't, I mean, it's just freaking exploded. It didn't exist when I started writing. I've been writing, I haven't even been doing this long. I'm not like someone who's been doing this for 40 years. I've only been doing this for 13, 12 years. And like the game has changed so tremendously in that time. And so, like, I genuinely want to offer my thanks to the reviewers who are helping readers discern the difference between someone who scratched out 13,000 words and slapped them on Amazon for $1.99 and those of us who are busting our asses to try and create a legacy here. Now I'm so drunk that I'm going to get sappy about my legacy.
Don't make me cry.
But like one of the very few metrics that people have to discern who's legitimately busting their ass for this community is the reviewers. You guys get to help people wade through, and some of these $1.99 stories are great. I've read a few of them that I'm like, damn, this is worth a lot more than $1.99.
Right.
But without the reviewers doing that work and cultivating these things, and how do you know until you've spent the money? And so I always want to thank reviewers, but I also don't want to look like some kiss ass who's trying to get more good reviews. So there are some people who are like, don't talk to reviewers, just let them work in their world and let you work in yours, or else you're going to be seen as trying to influence that process. But like now that I'm drunk, I can totally say, like, I'm really genuinely grateful. Like, I'm too drunk to blow smoke up anybody's ass at this point. Like, I'm truly grateful for those of you who are not getting paid to do this work, who are not making their living off of this. At least I draw a paycheck. You guys are legitimately helping us craft not our individual narratives, but the narrative of Lesfic and of women loving women fiction and what that means in this influx. And so, like, I've just realized that I have been talking a really long time.
Well, I wasn't going to cut you off because you're saying really nice things.
Yeah.
Relevant. No, thank you.
I agree.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It's definitely, you know, the other Lesfic reviewers that I know, because I will say a couple of the outlets that I review for do pay, which is very nice. But it's very hard, but it's never going to replace my job. First of all, I wish it would. And it's hard in Lesfic because as much as you can try to monetize some kind of reviewing platform, that you're never going to get quite the same money from it. And so it is a labor of love, but it's important.
Exactly.
And what I've learned in talking to all the other reviewers that I've talked to, is specifically around Lesfic, is that we're all in it because Lesfic has been so important to us. I know, like, for me, it's how I discovered my queerness.
Right.
I didn't know. I was married to a man. I was in the church. I was like, and when I say the church, I mean like the evangelical church.
The
like
big C church. Yeah.
The deeply religious, like, and so, I mean, I am grateful to authors like both of you. Like, I probably read both of your first book or two when I still thought I was straight. Like, it was just, that's how that was. That's where that connection came from. So, I get why people say don't reach out to reviewers. I would say if you are tagged about a review, then it's absolutely fair game.
Good.
Then that's fine. Me, I don't tweet reviews that include any kind of criticism because I don't feel like that's fair to the authors. I still put them out there because I think it's important for readers to know, and criticism doesn't necessarily mean a sale won't happen.
Right.
It's a buying tool. Anyway, why are we talking about this? We're supposed to be wrapping up.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
On that note, everybody. So if you listen to all of that and haven't read the books, I don't know what to tell you. A lot's been spoiled, but go please buy the books, and also buy anything from both of these amazing authors' backlists because they have pretty healthy backlists. I've read almost all of them, and they're very, very good. So you can find all of Kris's books at the Bold Strokes Books website. You can find Ray's books at both the Bywater Books and the Bold Strokes Books website. If for whatever reason you got to get them from Amazon, you can definitely do that. But the most money goes to the author and to the publisher if you can buy it right from the publisher's site. They make them in really convenient ebooks if that's what you want, or paperbacks if you want. So please,
yes.
go
And
do that.
I just bought Touch yesterday because Bold Strokes is having a sale.
Right.
Although by the time this is posted on Patreon, they might not still be having a sale. But
No, they are.
I was going to ask, just as sort of a wrapping up, Kris, you've got Taste, Touch, and Scent. What's coming next?
Listen, you forgot about Listen. That was the only award-winning.
That was the first one.
Have you not read that one?
It was not the first one.
The
Touch,
first
Listen, third.
Yeah,
it was the only
Listen
award-winning book.
Have you read it yet?
No, I haven't read it yet. It's all I have it. I bought it, but I haven't read it yet.
Read it next. It's so good.
Read it next. Okay.
And then talk to me.
That's like 10 steps above.
I really like Taste because I got a thing for MILFs. I like moms.
Yes. Listen is like, if you have any sort of, and you're very much an extrovert, and you get the whole, see, this is an introvert and her life has totally changed. So Listen might be a little stretch for you, but for sure.
No, I'm married to an introvert. And actually that was one of my other notes, that I loved that your introvert likes like zombie and killing books, because my introvert wife will only go see a movie if shit blows up.
Right.
I'm like, it's always the quiet ones.
It's always
the quiet ones. You gotta
sure.
work with
All right.
Yeah.
Let's end it on.
So
what's
next? What's next for you, Kris?
I have my erotica romance, the full length, the offshoot of Shameless. It's called Not Guilty, and it's by Britt Ryder, and it's coming out in June 1st. It's available.
Excellent.
What about you?
I have just finished a draft of a book called, tentatively titled Thrust, because it's about,
I love it. I'm in.
It's about an Olympic fencer. And then I am working on another English book called Plain English.
Nice. Plain English.
Yeah.
By the way, left-handed people are the best fencers in the world, just an FYI, in case you needed to know that, and I am left-handed.
Okay.
And I love fencing. I'm just pointing that out. I'm just saying that.
We'll talk about that at some point off camera.
Yes, we should.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kris. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Goodbye, everyone.
As a